What's up, pod pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. I'm doing a very special podcast audit episode today with my pod pal Sabine from the She Leads Now podcast. Sabine, how's it going?
It is going well. Thank you so much for having me, Adam.
Well, I'm very excited. I know you listen to the show, and I always love giving people that are super fans and power users of the show that share it out a little extra love on the show. So very excited about this. I've looked at the information that you provided for me ahead of time. I think there's tremendous potential. So let's set a goal. All right. 6 months from now, you and I reconnect and things have gone amazingly well for your show. However you want to define that, what would that look like for you?
Oh, the show is running as a marketing engine as that I really wanted it to be. Whereas right now it's not. But nonetheless, I know that your minimum threshold is the 125 downloads. So the show is producing, or the show is getting at least 125 downloads per episode. I'd like to get to the 1,000, but we're gonna start where we can.
Yeah.
And then also ensuring that, there is a very clear movement or flow, if you will, from podcast listeners to people who join my monthly event to individuals who actually join the network.
Okay, cool. And what would you say is the number one thing keeping you from getting there right now?
No real strategy. I think that that's the basis. I've implemented parts of what you teach, but I feel like there are a couple of missing tweaks to make it actually flow in the way that I'd like.
Okay, so let's dive deep on strategy and kind of just getting a process put together today. I think we can definitely get that going for you. Now, last bit of information I need before we do that, like who is the ideal listener slash ideal customer? And when they become a customer or a client, what does that look like?
Yeah, so ideal listener and client are professional women. So that could be in your traditional corporate work environment or entrepreneurship, ambitious type A, focused on career, but also want to create a space where life and career are in alignment. I'm sorry, I forgot the rest of your question.
And what does it look like when they become clients of yours? How are you helping them out?
Yeah, when they become clients, it's through the network, and so I'm supporting them in their professional development as far as building up leadership skills, competencies, how to advance in their career, and then also supporting them on, call it, the softer skills. So around really their mindset, how to build influence, how to build their impact longer term.
Okay, perfect. All right, I got what I need. Let's blast away here. So the first thing we definitely need to look at is just like low hanging fruit SEO stuff that's going to help you grow the right listenership. So obviously words like leadership, female entrepreneurship, online entrepreneurship, maybe even small business owner, things like that. I think we need to have at least one of those words in some sort of title extension for your show. So like She Leads Now, tips for female entrepreneurs, online coaches, and blah, 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 another keyword or something like that. So adding a little bit of a title extension, we just need keywords, because right now, when you think about how people discover podcasts, they go to Apple or Spotify, and you have to look at the words in your title of your show, the name of your show. And we have to honestly ask ourselves, do people search any of those words if they're looking for a show like mine? So is somebody typing in She Leads or Now to find a show like yours? And they aren't. Like that's like none of those words. Leadership, yes, but leads and leadership is not the same thing. So we got it. This is going to be just like a nuclear bomb of organic, natural traffic finding you if we can make this little tweak. So She Leads Now, a podcast for, or tips for, and then X, Y, and Z, and those all need to be keywords. So if you like entrepreneurship, female entrepreneurs, what kind of words would you slot into those X, Y, and Z? Or if you're going to extend the title and really try to attract certain types of people, but also looking from a keyword status, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was initially thinking ambitious women in leadership, but that's still broad because that doesn't necessarily identify entrepreneurship or professional. But I know my listeners are like fall into both buckets. Um,
What about like tips to help female entrepreneurs level up their leadership skills or something like that? Um, I want to get the word female entrepreneur and leadership in there. Like that
mhm,
would be a dream scenario for me. And if we can do that, I feel like you're going to get, so much more organic traffic. This is like the thing that podcasters do. We work so hard to spread the word and get on other people's podcasts, all the hard, like grinding it out marketing. And we ignore this is the easy stuff. We just have to position and name it correctly with keywords so that people just searching the word leadership. Oh, wow, look at this show. This looks like it's for me. I'm going to check it out. And that's like just easy stuff. We know that people are out there searching female entrepreneurship, female business tips, um, you know, anything like small business tips, like all of that is being searched. So let's get a piece of that pie. That's easy stuff.
yeah.
So I think just looking at, and now when we talk about a title extension, I want all those words on the title line of your show. Don't use the subtitle line because that means nothing to us right now. So
Okay.
all of that in there. I can follow up with you and make sure that we kind of get it dialed in. But honestly, I would keep, She Leads Now, either like tips for or advice for, and then just list some keywords. But I would try to get female entrepreneur, entrepreneurship, leadership. Um, all those words would work really good because those are searchable terms. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay.
you.
And then same thing with your episode titles. Like if somebody was searching Google for like every episode that I do, I'm in my head going, okay, if somebody's searching for Google, what Google question does this episode answer? So like I just produced an episode where I did an interview with somebody that taught us how to turn our podcast content into a book. So I have how to turn your podcast content into a book because that is what somebody would put into Google. And now that episode, if people search that, it's going to show up for them.
Mm,
So think about that as well, that discoverability factor with episode titles, and then look at your how you have your podcast host description set up. And again, words like female leadership, entrepreneurship, online business owners, online entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, anything that describes your ideal listener / client, put those words and put that language into the description in your host. A lot of people ignore that. They just kind of put up like a generic paragraph about me or whatever, and just look and go, could I put any of these words in there? And then I kind of keyword stuff it a little bit at the end. I'll go, hey, if you are searching for answers to questions such as, and I just go and just list a whole bunch of Google questions with keywords in it in the host description. So if you all, Sabine or anybody listening in, you can just go to the Podcasting Business School podcast feed, wherever you listen to audio, and look how I have my host description set up and just use that as a template. You'll see an initial paragraph where I'm just using a lot of descriptive terms that I want to show up for in searches. And then you'll see all my Google questions and just use that as a template. And that should be helpful. So is that making sense so far, Sabine?
it's making perfect sense. I have a question. You sparked something. So instead of entrepreneurs, because I feel like that'll eliminate, people in corporate and traditional executives. What about executives, female executives?
I mean, let's use all of the above. So female executives, entrepreneurs, and like I like a 3
Yeah.
keyword, the X, the Y, and the Z. So female entrepreneurs, executives, and women in leadership positions, or just sneaking the word leadership in there is going to
Yeah.
help because people are searching that word. Like that's definitely something. Yeah. So totally. I think that
Okay.
would work. So just think about that. The nice thing is you can change this up. It's not hard to do. Just go in and switch it, save it in your host, and it updates. And
Okay.
you don't have to it's not a big heavy process or anything like that. It's very simple. But I would update your show art. Once you get this dialed in,
Mhm.
I would update your show art. And my favorite thing to do with this title extension, like you've got your normal She Leads Now, all right, but I want to highlight this subtitle text. So make sure there's like a background color behind it. and make it pop, put the font a little different, make it thick and chunky so people can read it. With the subtitle, a lot of times people are using like italic script, and you can't see that on a phone when it pulls up, and so it's useless because I want them to see that and go, ooh, that describes me. I'm checking this show out first before all these other shows that popped up in the search. Does that make sense?
It does.
So
It
make
does.
it pop. And even like those keywords, make them a different color, or even like a slightly bolder font, or just something a little bit different so it stands out on that image and it kind of jumps off the screen at them. So it's like a fishing lure, because the SEO and the keywords, that's the first part of the attractor beam that we're building. But then we pull up with all the other shows. So if they search leadership, your show and 10 or 15 other shows all pop up on that screen. And now we want the art is what finishes the deal for us. And they go, ooh, those words right there that are highlighted, that describes me. Sabine's show gets first priority.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Yeah.
so that's what we're looking at doing there with the art. And again, just updating the art inside of your podcast host. That's super easy. Okay.
Okay. And I have the animation or animated women on my thing. Is that a stopper?
Like a picture of animated women.
Yeah. So it's like the thought was, diverse women,
Yeah.
all different backgrounds, coming together.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's totally fine. Now we just have to keep, whenever we have like our own picture in there or some sort of, imagery or art, like a lot of people put a big picture of a microphone in there, like I've got, but you'll see my show art, the words are priority, and I make the art or the image fit into that. You know what I'm saying? So the big golden microphone I've got, it's not sitting in the middle and I'm working all around it or anything like that. I put my words in there so they're big and readable, and I sneak the art into that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So play around with it. You could even just like shade it and make it a background so it's kind of visible in the background with the words on front. But I'm always telling my clients, like, whatever the important words are, they need to be big, bold, super readable, and they need to be the thing that's featured, because that, nobody's looking for the big golden microphone show. Like, they're looking for podcasting business school. So we just got to keep that in mind.
Okay.
All right.
I know you said unless you're, Oprah or whoever, like keep your picture off the show art.
Well, I say that
not Oprah, but
there's not always like, there aren't rules that apply to every single, circumstance, but like, if you want to put your face in there, make it fit around the words. So if I was gonna put my face in, I would just stick it in there, like in place of the microphone, and it fits around the words. My face isn't the feature, the words are the feature.
Yeah.
And sometimes with just the shape of that image, there's like a corner that's got an opening space. Throw a microphone in there, throw your face in there, throw your art, whatever you got in there. Now, especially for people listening in, if you are a really direct representation of your ideal client, then I do think you should put yourself in the art. So I was speaking at a health conference a couple months ago, and there's this dude that comes up to me. He's like, should I change my art? And I told him he needed to put himself on there, because he's this big, like, jacked, in shape dude. And I'm like, you represent the ideal that your listenership is trying to pursue. So you need to that's a really nice attractor beam. I've got another client that's like, again, the fitness space, and she's marketing to 40 plus females, and she's a 40 plus female. She's in fantastic shape. I'm like, you need to be in the art, because people will automatically resonate with that and go, okay, that's somebody that I want to look up to and get help from and learn from, because she represents what I'm trying to achieve. So in those scenarios, I think it's okay. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Let's get a little marketing strategy flow going here. Just things that I know will help. All right. So first things first, consistent content. Are we doing weekly content?
We are doing weekly content. So for Q2, I decided to do something a little different in terms of doing the show live and streaming to the different platforms. I didn't realize how much of a lift that would be in addition to doing all the podcast stuff. So what I'm streaming, it's going out, it's being produced every week, but then Q3 is where I'll take that content and actually have it on the podcast. So right now it looks like the podcast is on hiatus if you go to one of the players, but I am actually still producing content every week.
Okay, cool. So as a new episode goes live, we want to look at my 72-hour marketing strategy. That's kind of the next step where we go, okay, over the next 72 hours, how are we promoting and marketing this episode? And what I challenge all my listeners to do, and what I force all my clients to do, because they're paying me to make them do things like this, is to release five separate marketing assets over 72 hours. So like I release my episode, first episode of the week is on Tuesday. So I'm really looking at, all right, what am I doing on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? And that 72 hour is kind of an algorithmic sweet spot within the podcast player apps. If we can drive extra traffic in that first 3-day period that we just put something new on their platform, they're going to show it to more people. And then it's considered like quote unquote older content after that. So it doesn't get as much love. So we really, if you traditionally would market over 5 or 7 days, we want to compress that into 3 days and have 5 marketing assets. So for example, what I do, episode goes live on Tuesday. I will post a carousel with my top 4 takeaways from the episode on Tuesday morning. Then on Tuesday evening, I'm doing an Instagram live where I'll mention and name drop the episode and the topic a little bit. Wednesday morning, I do my email news blast that people get, and it's kind of like a through line topic of the episode of the week. And then I'll produce an Instagram reel that's kind of just me talking to the camera, just a video asset or a highlight from the episode. And then Thursday morning, I'll do another video where it's like my top takeaway or just another face to camera thing. So 2 videos, 1 live stream, 1 email, and 1 carousel. Those are my 5 assets over 72 hours. Now, if it's just like inconsistent right now, then start with like, all right, I got to put something out, 1 thing per day, 3 assets, 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, and then build up from there. So where are we at currently with that process?
So normally the podcast gets released on Wednesdays. And
Okay.
so before, what I was doing was a Monday post or video, Wednesday when it got released, and then Friday was more of like Monday was a video of me saying something that on the show, Wednesday was an audiogram, and then Friday was a highlight of the guest sharing something as a tip. So
Okay.
I got the 3 days down. It's just a little spread out there.
Yeah. So I would just shift. So the Monday would technically be for the previous Wednesday's episode. Does that make sense? Or is it a preview?
It's usually a preview.
Okay. So yeah, I would just scoot that up so that we go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you'll notice a difference just in the assets you're already used to releasing. It'll make a difference. So
Okay.
then if we can add some, an email blast or something in there, live casts are really fun and it's an easy way to promote your show. So
Okay. Is there a fast and hard rule around the day that it gets released?
I would just avoid weekends. I
Okay.
would go Monday through Thursday, primarily. That being said, I'm the guy that releases podcast audits on Friday. Friday isn't a terrible day, but the closer you get to the weekend, the more pattern disrupts we have. Like the people's weekend schedules aren't as routine as they are Monday through Thursday, especially where they're like, I drop the kids off and then I go to work and then I get my lunch break and then I listen to my podcast on the lunch break. And then on Saturday, it could be different every single Saturday. So it helps to have your episode released on a day where the people's lives have a certain routine and rhythm so that we can sneak into that routine and rhythm.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So episode content, that's the next box that I want to check. How are we looking? I know you're doing interviews. Are you doing any solo episodes, anything like that? Just interviews?
No, I did solo episodes in the beginning and it felt like torture. And so I opted for the interviews.
Okay. Now, why did it feel like torture? Let's unpack that.
Oh, I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. Like I'd literally get on the mic. Like usually I outline things, but it would just be like the staring of what do I want to talk about?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would recommend, especially since you want to convert listeners into super fans into clients, we need more expert positioning, which means some solo episodes. So we want to look at applying my 2/3 content rule. And this rule in and of itself will help you with your expert positioning and you'll sell more of the things that you want to sell. You have more client conversion. So the rule is 2/3 of your content needs to feature you as the expert. So what that means is 2 out of every 3 episodes needs to be either a solo episode or a coaching style episode. And I think you could do really well with both. And what I would look at doing with solo episodes, I would challenge you, Sabine, to sit down and just go, okay, if I was going to create an online course right now, what would the topic be? And then what would the 20 videos be, the 10 to 20 videos be that I would put into that course? And then I want you to do 10 to 20 solo episodes on that topic. Like that's, and these can be 10 minutes, they can be 5 minutes. They do not have to be giant long episodes. I just need you showing up as the expert for 5, 10, 15. Mine are usually 15 to 20 minutes. Unless I get really psyched about something, I have extra caffeine, then I'll go 30. But it's not like an hour-long marathon episode by any means. So this will really help. But just think about, like, just keep a running list of solo topics. Like, ooh, I'd love to jam out on that. I could definitely teach on that. Like, what pain points are your ideal listeners and clients popping into your inbox going, I need help with this. What do you think about this? Look at the interviews that you've done and the topics of those interviews, and have you tried to apply those things, and what kind of results have you gotten? You can unpack that in a solo episode. So short, quick, fun, top of mind. I usually make bullet points, but I don't spend more than like 10 minutes prepping for my solos. And I'm just like, let's turn on the mic and just drop some energy in there. And however long it takes, that's a good episode, and we release that. And then with the coaching style episodes, I would just look at like what we're doing here and this whole process and kind of mimic that and go, all right, I need to pull some people from my audience, or maybe even you could even start out with more of a testimonial style episode where you bring on current clients or members of your network and kind of unpack their success and go, hey, here's why they joined. Here's what they've experienced so far. Here's their next goal. And here's what I suggest for them to hit their next goal, sort of a thing. I use that format with my health show, and that really filled up my membership nicely, where it was kind of like a built-in promotion, like, hey, if you want to get results like this too, then join my weight loss club and blah, blah, blah. So I think that format could work for you as well. Any thoughts, questions on that solo episode, coaching style episode scenario?
I like the fact that you said look at it from a course perspective, because I have those too. So I can just easily go back in. The coaching style one, I probably have to work through some internal stuff there before implementing that. And that's more so like who would I who would I bring on? And then there are some times where, like, if I'm listening to a podcast and that's the episode, I personally will skip that episode. So this isn't about me.
Yeah.
This is about the audience.
Yeah. 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 And it's hit or miss. Like, some people always listen to my podcast audits. Some people, they skip it, depending on the topic.
Your audits are different though. Like, that's different. It's the
same thing. Don't get in your head about this. I mean, it's the same thing. A coaching style episode, if you're in your niche, if you're in your topic, if you pull a female entrepreneur, corporate executive on, and you lean in and go, hey, what's the number one thing keeping you from your goal right now? Let's dig into that for 15 to 20 to 25 minutes. Same thing. Like, it's going to help them.
Oh, okay. That's what you mean by coaching. I was thinking about it from the standpoint of like the clients and like, where were you before we started working together? Where are you now? That type of.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that too, but I mean, that's a way that you could get started if you're like, I'm not sure who I'm going to talk to. But yeah, like pulling listeners on and just doing what we're doing here. This is fun and it's easy, and it allows you to think on your feet, and it doesn't require a lot of prep or anything, because it's really just driven by the questions and the pain points that your guest has. So, so I would just brain dump a little bit. And just one last thought, like I know you've got courses, and I would be unafraid to unpack a bunch of the material that you cover in your paid courses. Like, I do that on my show all the time. I just dump it all out there, and people pay me to help them implement correctly and in the correct order, sequence, and cadence to basically make it an optimal situation. So I'll teach about, funnels and all this stuff. And that's something that people pay me to help them build, or download growth. But, they can get it for free on the show, and they can implement, or they can go next level. And I show them exactly how to implement it for their unique situation. So put it all out there, unleash the awesomeness. And I think that your audience will appreciate that. And it kind of shows confidence too. It's like, I'm such a good coach. I'm going to show you everything that I do, just put it out there, and you're still going to hire me. That's how good I am. Like that's,
Yeah.
it kind of just has, I'm not holding anything back, and your audience will respond to that. So, outstanding. So I think we got some really good action points here to look at, and I'm really excited to kind of follow your journey and see how it goes. And for those of our audience members out there that want to connect to you, check out what you've got cooking with your show and your brand, what's the best place for them to go to check you out?
Yes, definitely check out She Leads Network. So it's sheleadsnetwork.com, or I live on LinkedIn. So please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. It's Sabine Gideon.
Connect on LinkedIn. And for anybody out there that has sent me a LinkedIn friend request, I apologize because I deleted the app on my phone. So I don't even know how to log into LinkedIn at this point. I may have to set up a new account. I don't know. But I had somebody that messaged me or that emailed me. She's like, I sent you a LinkedIn request like 3 months ago. I'm like, I have not been on the app. If you send me a DM on Instagram, I'll answer it within a day. If you email me, I'll answer it within a day. But I only work 3 days a week, so I only got time for one social media app to focus on. So that's my trade out. So Sabine, I'm proud of you. Thank you for joining me here today. And for anybody listening in out in podcasting land, if you want to be just like Sabine, come on for a podcast audit. I've added some more spots to the schedule. There's less of a wait because that has been an issue. And I'd be excited to have you on. Just go to the main website, podcastingbusiness.school, get signed up. And with that, I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.